Hi there, everyone. Um, Today I'm going to narrate the first part of Dr. Paul Laviolette's book, Subquantum Kinetics, a Systems Approach to Physics and Cosmology. So it'll be in a number of different parts, and this is just the first part. Okay. Okay, then. So the title of the book is Subquantum Kinetics, a Systems Approach to Physics and Cosmology by Paul A. Laviolette. So my name is Brendan Darragh, and I've edited sixth edition. So Paul Laviolette passed away in 19th of December 2022, and we at the Starburst Foundation continue his work. So there's the title page and the publisher's page. So here's an overview of the contents. And this book not only does it have appendices, but this book also has an index and will be eventually printed in a hardback color copy. So some source notes. The material of this book incorporates material from earlier articles. Chapters and the corresponding articles are as follows. Chapter 1 and 2, an introduction to subquantum kinetics. 1, an overview of the methodology. International Journal General Systems, Volume 11, Number 4, 1985, pages 281 to 293. Chapters 3, 5, and 8, an introduction to subquantum kinetics. 2, an open systems description of particles and fields. International Journal General Systems Theory, Volume 11, Number 4, 1985, pages 295 to 328. The electric charge and magnetization distribution of the nucleon, evidence of a subatomic Turing wave pattern. International Journal General Systems 37 in bracket 6, December 2008, pages 649 to 676. Chapter 6, an open system approach to energy wave propagation. Proceedings 1990 Conference of International System Science Society, Volume 2, 1990, pages 1119 to 1126. A Tesla Wave Physics for Free Energy Universe, Proceedings 1990, International Tesla Symposium, International Tesla Society 1990, pages 5.1 to 5.19. Chapter 7, Is the Universe Really Expanding? The Astrophysical Journal, Volume 301, 1986, pages 544 to 553. An Introduction to Subquantum Kinetics 3, The Cosmology of Subquantum Kinetics, The Cosmology of Subquantum Kinetics, International Journal of General Systems, Volume 11, Number 4, 1985, 329, pages 329 to 345. Chapter 9, the planetary stellar mass luminosity relation, possible evidence of energy non-conservation. Physics Essays, Volume 5, Number 4, 1992, pages 536 to 544. An Introduction to Subquantum Kinetics 3, The Cosmology of Subquantum Kinetics, International Journal General Systems, Volume 11, Number 4, 1985, pages 329 to 345. Chapter 10, Generative Hyperspace Model, Section 5 and 6, 1979, unpublished paper. Chapter 11, Electrogravidics, Back to the Future, Electric Spacecraft, J. Issue 4, Electric Spacecraft Journal, I should imagine that is. Issue 4, 1991, pages 23 to 28. Theory of Electrogravidics, Electric Spacecraft Journal, issue number 8, 1992, pages 33 to 34. A homemade power supply for electrogravitic experiments, Electric Spacecraft Journal, issue number 8, 1992, pages 36 to 39. Okay, this is a foreword by Paul Laviolette's father, Fred Laviolette. Forward. Midway through his undergraduate work in physics at Johns Hopkins, Paul Laviolette, Paul became disenchanted with what he was being taught in class. He had expected that physics would lay the foundation for a grand plan of nature, that it would provide a fundamental framework which would accommodate all the sciences, coordinating them into a coherent and intelligible whole. But to his dismay, he learned that physics was very insular and compartmentalized. Not only did it make no attempt to venture any kind of big picture, its abstractions were often irrelevant to phenomena being studied in other fields. In his spare time, he attempted to intuit a more general, fundamental approach to science, one that could account for the formation and substance of systems at all levels of nature, living as well as non-living, living as well as non-living. He called this his theory of existence. Following his graduation, he turned to the study of business organization at the University of Chicago, where he discovered that the theoretical approach he had been independently developing had already been elaborated in a relatively new discipline called general systems theory. He also learned of breakthroughs that had been made in the fields of non-equilibrium thermodynamics and chemical kinetics, which had profound implications in the life sciences for understanding the spontaneous genesis of ordered form. Pondering these ideas one night, he was struck with a flash of insight in which he saw an entirely new approach to physics, one that would allow it to seamlessly encompass I'll read that again. One that would allow it to be seamlessly encompassed within his general theory of existence. I remember very clearly that night in the spring of 1973. It was 2 a.m., and the telephone beside my bed had begun ringing insistently. When I picked it up, I heard the frantic voice of my son. He was calling from his room at the University of Chicago and saying, "Dad, this is something you have to know in case something happens to me and I don't live until morning." I yelled back, "What's happened to you? What's the matter?" He said, "Oh, I'm fine. It's just that I've made a great discovery and someone should know about it just in case something should happen to me." His insight was that a physical subatomic particle might be conceived as an intricate concentration pattern which is continually sustained through the operation of some underlying sub-physical reaction process. I recall that night. At the time, I did not As I recall that night, at the time, I did not greet his astonishing news with great enthusiasm. During the times when Paul was home from graduate school for a visit, he would tell me about the new ideas he was coming up with in developing his theory. His theory. I was a good sounding board, being myself a physicist as well as an electrical and nuclear engineer. However, in the beginning, I was rather skeptical. My usual response was, Paul, don't you think you're trying to reinvent the wheel? Then, during one such visit, I proposed some thought experiments, and to my surprise, his theories always held up. After that, I began to take his concepts seriously. But it was only later, when he was working on his doctorate at Portland State University and had documented his ideas more clearly, that I began to see the far-reaching scope of the subquantum kinetics methodology he was developing. By 1979, Paul was ready to publish in a referee journal, but to his great disappointment, none of the physics journals would accept his papers. The reasons for rejection were varied and most always of a flimsy nature. However, it was clear that the message was always the same. Sorry, your ideas don't conform to conventional physics. Finally, he decided that since his theory was founded on general systems, theoretic concepts, it would be appropriate to submit his papers for publication in the International Journal of General Systems. The editor of that journal had them reviewed and decided that because of their importance, all three should be published in a single issue devoted exclusively to his work, to this work. It appeared in the November 1985 issue of the International Journal of General Systems, Volume 11, Number 4, under the banner Special Issue on Systems Thinking in Physics. These papers, along with other published papers and some additional material, were brought together in the form of a book, which was published in 1994 under the title Subquantum Kinetics, The Alchemy of Creation. The second edition, now fourth edition, is an updated and enlarged version of that work. No, this is not a simple remouthing of ideas from old textbooks. This is a bold adventure. This is a bold adventure in scientific thinking. It resolves the difficulties and conflicts inherent in the theories of relativity and quantum mechanics. It provides a unified theory of fields and particles. It also gives us alternatives to the black hole assumption and the notion of a Big Bang creation event, both of which have encountered serious problems in recent years. Furthermore, it predicts the existence of a hitherto unknown source of energy powering the universe. But be forewarned, to fully appreciate what is presented here, the reader must be willing to put aside many familiar concepts and conclusions taught by current physics until he has had a chance to acquire a clear understanding of this new framework. Subquantum kinetics presents a major advance in our fundamental understanding of nature. It takes concepts developed in the relatively new field of systems theory and uses them to forge a new approach to physics, one that leads to a description of the universe that is faithfully consistent with real-world observation and that also conforms to good common sense. So that's Paul's father who wrote that. So that's Fred G. Laviolette, December 2002. And Paul has written here, this book is dedicated in memory of my father, Fred G. Laviolette, 1916 to 2008. acknowledgement of the 5th edition. So what I'm reading from is the 6th edition, but we put in this 5th edition note to distinguish what Paul wrote and what I wrote. So the 5th edition acknowledgement is what Paul wrote, the 5th edition. I would like to thank my father, Fred G. Laviolette, for sharing many long discussions on subquantum kinetics through the years and for his support as I brought this methodology to its present stage of development. I would also like to thank him for his dedicated help in formatting this book and helping to edit it for publication. I would like to thank as well David Rube, Matt Pulver, Gareth McGee, Solomon Apavo, and others for their input and editorial assistance. Also, thanks to Brendan Dara, that's me, for his work in catching many grammatical and spelling errors in this manuscript, and for his work in simulating Model G. The acknowledgement of the 6th edition, which I have written for this particular edition. Dr. Paul A. Laviolette had a long battle with cancer and passed away in the late evening of the 19th of December 2022 at his home in Greece. Earlier in 2022, whilst he was putting together the 5th edition of the SQK book, he gave me permission to put this book into LaTeX PDF format after he was dead, as it was unclear how long he would live for. Mariana Hristova Laviolette, Paul's wife, who now owns the copyright, has also given me permission to do this. Please enjoy the 6th edition of Paul's book, where I will have corrected any typographical errors and provided links to references, figures, etc., and included an index, making it an easier read. Paul Laviolette was a brilliant mind who researched a broad range of transdisciplinary subjects. I believe this book will change the way we study and research physics in the future. We will miss you, Paul, but you will always be with us in spirit. I wish to thank Dr. Justin Coven and Mariana Hristova Laviolette for technical and financial contributions. Also, I would like to thank the following people for their support in making the 6th edition possible: Caspian, Sam Lawrence, Edward Kuberski, Chris Matthews Sakatano, Solomon Apavo, Mark Burton, Amber Threcold, and Professor Theo Alameda Murphy. Obituary of Paul A. Laviolette. Astrophysicist Paul Alex Laviolette, PhD, has passed away. 8th of November 1947 to 19th of December 2022. So this came out on the 20th, and the link is given here to the newspaper that did this obituary. By Prometheuma, Author Newsroom, published December the 20th, 2022. Paul Alex Laviolette, a doctorate of philosophy in systems science, was an astrophysicist, an inventor, and a philosopher whose thinking was outside the box. A Renaissance man, Dr. Laviolette was president of the Starburst Foundation, under whose aegis he has been conducting interdisciplinary research in physics, astronomy, ecology, climatology, systems theory, psychology, and ancient mythology. He is the originator of theories in areas of astronomy, physics, geology, and cognitive psychology, which have been published in various professional journals and provide explanations for various and I'll read that again. and provided explanations to various thus far inadequately answered questions. His published books and articles explain the theories he has put forth, and in them he substantiates each tenet in detail based on extensive, in-depth, painstaking research. His book titles include Genesis of the Cosmos, The Ancient Science of Continuous Creation, first print published as Beyond the Big Bang, Subquantum Kinetics, Earth Under Fire, Decoding the Message of the Pulsars, and Secrets of Anti-Gravity Propulsion, which was an Amazon top seller the first year and presents a comprehensive study of advanced propulsion systems, propelling unconventional flying objects and classified craft, such as the B-2 bomber and other advanced craft, such as those seen in Area 51, around Area 51. He has also edited a systems view of man, essays by systems theorist Ludwig von Bertalanffy. Some of Paul's books have, system series Ludwig von Bertalanffy. Some of Paul's books have been published in several languages, including but not limited to Greek and Russian. His publications are detailed on his website, etheric.com. Paul served as a solar energy consultant for the UN, Club of Rome, and the Greek government, and had also consulted with Hughes Aircraft Corporation on ways to improve innovation in the company's workforce. He has advised NASA on the advantages of field propulsion technology and participated in the crucial review of the Columbia Space Shuttle accident. Paul and younger sister Mary were born in Niskayana, a suburb of Cincinnati, New York, USA, to a Greek American mum chemist and an American dad physicist and engineer who had participated in the Manhattan Project. Paul's insatiable curiosity was apparent from a very early age. His first word had not been mama or papa, but phos, light in Greek. His father, who was a nuclear engineer at General Electric's Knowles Atomic Power Laboratory, Knowles Atomic Power Laboratory, began teaching physics to Paul at elementary school age. As Paul grew, he spent time with his chemistry set, but was also a good piano student. As a young teen, he enjoyed creating gunpowder rockets, which he was allowed to launch in the backyard. Paul attended 9th and 10th grades at the Niskayana High School, where by the sophomore year, he had become president of the science club, and at age 16, invented a solar-powered water pump, which was promoted by VITA, Volunteers for International Technical Assistance, for use in developing countries, and is being used in arid areas throughout the Middle East up to today. In 1963, the family moved to Athens, Greece, where his father was on assignment with the International Atomic Energy Commission to teach scientists at the Democritus National Research Center how to conduct experiments with their new swimming pool type nuclear reactor. First year in Athens, Paul attended Athens College, where he took all the courses available in English, mostly math and science. But he did take geometry in Greek, only to point out to the teacher an incorrect answer in the answer book. That year, Paul took up playing the guitar. His father, who loved history, made a point of taking the family to visit the numerous archaeological sites, which all enjoyed. The next year, Paul attended the American community schools in Hallandri for his senior year, and after graduating in 1965, Paul obtained a BS in physics from Johns Hopkins University and an MBA in organizational administration from the University of Chicago, and a PhD in systems science from the State University of Oregon in Portland. Paul's college years Paul's college years were the years of the Vietnam War, and as a conscientious objector, Paul interrupted his MBA to complete 2 years of alternative service at Harvard University School of Public Health, where he invented and improved pulsation dampener for air sampling pumps, as well as a new type of life support rebreather apparatus currently used throughout the world by firefighters and miners, replacing dangerous oxygen tanks. Paul's curiosity in science and discussions with his father led him to spend hours and hours researching, reading, and pondering. Thus, his theories unfolded over many years. One evening at age 22, it all came together for him, and his new theory of physics was born. Based on his theory, Paul made predictions about what would be encountered in outer space and posted these on his website. Then years later, when NASA was puzzled with some missing sorry, I'll read that again. Then years later, when NASA was puzzled with some mission findings, Paul pointed out the correct explanation from the predictions he had posted. Some of Paul's firsts include the following. Joshua Labolet was the originator of subquantum kinetics, a novel unified field theory approach to microphysics, which resolved many long-standing problems in physics and which provides a rational alternative to the Big Bang cosmology. Subquantum kinetics has had 12 of its predictions later, I think that number varies between 12, 13, and 14. Subquantum kinetics has had 12 of its predictions later verified by astronomical observation. He is also the first to show that a similar science of matter energy creation, metaphorically encoded in certain ancient creation myths and esoteric lore. Paul was the first astronomer to disprove the expanding universe theory by showing its inability to fit observational data in a consistent manner. Paul has modified one of Newton's laws and one of Einstein's laws. He was also first to show evidence that energy is spontaneously created inside planets and stars for a photon energy blue shifting effect. His early prediction of the magnitude of this frequency shift effect were confirmed in the spacecraft tracking experiments, which detected this blue shift, more commonly known as the Pioneer effect. He is also credited with discovering that masses and luminosities of both planets and stars conform to the same mass-luminosity relation, a finding which led him to correctly predict that brown dwarf stars should also conform to this relation. Dr. Laviolette was the originator of the galactic superwave theory, which proposes that cosmic ray outbursts from the center of our galaxy periodically trigger major shifts in Earth's climate. In testing this theory, he became the first to discover high concentrations of cosmic dust and gold in ice age polar ice. He also initiated the world's first discovery of anomalous isotopic ratios in extraterrestrial tin. In 1988, he initiated the current US-Russian ice core exchange program, becoming the first US glaciologist to receive polar ice samples from the former Soviet Union. Paul correctly predicted that interstellar dust recently entered the solar system, something that was confirmed 10 years later by data received from the Ulysses spacecraft. Also, he uncovered evidence which establishes the past occurrence of immense solar flare storm outbursts, causing a terrestrial conflagration. He was also the first to show evidence that the last ice age was ended by a global warming episode. He was the first to reverse engineer the B-2 bomber's propulsion technology, and also was the first to explain the microwave beam technology used to propel vehicles developed in the super-secret Skyvault project. Paul was the originator of the glacier wave flood theory that not only provides a reasonable scientific explanation for widespread continental floods at the end of the last ice age, but also presents a credible explanation for the sudden freezing of Arctic mammoths and demise of the Pleistocene mammals. So Laviolette's findings about superwaves and their climatic effects have been spotlighted in documentaries, which aired on the Discovery and History channels in the US. Paul also had many accomplishments in archaeoastronomy, mythology, and esoteric lore. His findings opened a new doorway to the interpretation of our ancient past. Aided by his background in general systems theory and physics, he was able to successfully decipher the lost science said to be encoded in the lore of the tarot and astrology. He found that the first 11 major arcana of the tarot and the 12 signs of the zodiac both use symbolic metaphor to present an advanced science of matter and energy creation, which he developed as the subquantum kinetics, or they had a science very similar to subquantum kinetics. He has shown that the system's genesis concepts they encode were discovered by modern science only in the last 40 years. He was also the first to discover that this same advanced creation science is metaphorically encoded in certain ancient creation myths from various parts of the world. Egypt, as shown as follows. Egypt, the myth of Atum, passion of Osiris. Greece, the Olympian creation myth. Plato's story of Atlantis, the myth of Castor and Pollux. Near East, the Babylonian creation myth about Marduk and Tiamat. The Sumerian creation myth about Un and Ki. Phoenician myth of Adonais and Aphrodite. India, the Vishnu creation myth. New Zealand, Story of Rangi and Papa, China, the I Ching. Also, he discovered the scientific significance of ancient Egyptian symbols such as the Ankh, the Jed, Pillar, Kiet, and Akka Sphinx, and of the Hindu symbol of Shiva, Nataraja. He also found new evidence embedded in an ancient Egyptian text that supports the belief that ancient Magi performed initiation rites into the Osirian mysteries by entering an underground labyrinth, symbolically accessed through the breast of the Sphinx. Furthermore, in the area of archaeology and archaeoastronomy, Dr. Laviolette was the first to discover and decode a scientifically advanced time capsule message concealed in the law of the zodiac, and which utilizes cryptographic key and check mechanism to facilitate cross-cultural transmission of its encoded knowledge. He found that this cipher describes the galactic and solar cause of the legendary global catastrophe that decimated civilization at the end of the last ice age, and that gave rise to numerous myths about the darkening of the luminaries, burning of the earth, and occurrence of a great flood. He discovered that the cipher related how an intense volley of cosmic rays explosively emitted from the center of our galaxy had bombarded our solar system and pushed in light occultating particles of cosmic dust. This ancient scientific record inspired him to carry out an extensive program of interdisciplinary PhD research to search for corroborating evidence. His findings were later published in referee scientific journals. As such, Paul Laviolette may be the first to have conducted doctoral research for the purpose of checking out the validity of scientific information conveyed by a prehistoric time capsule message. Was the first to decipher the 14,000 BC date encoded in the Scorpius-Sagittarius zodiac constellations and in the Dendera ceiling zodiac. He also was the first to work out the significance of the 10,750 BC date encoded in the Giza pyramid complex, the Beth Opher synagogue mosaic, and in the ancient Greek myth of Astraea. His work provided new understandings of the ancient Mayan ball leaping ritual, the Palladian rites, and the significance of myths connected with the Orion constellation. In addition, he provided new insights about the constellations of Scorpius, Sagittarius, Sagitta, Centaurus, and Taurus. He was also the first to decipher the astronomical significance of the South American Indian Barasana cosmology, which refers to cataclysms caused by the galactic center. Furthermore, he has elucidated the astronomical and geological significances of the Hopi legend of the blue star, the ancient Egyptian myths about the ancient Egyptian myths about the punishing eye of Atum Ray, the vengeful eye of Horus, Horus's nearly fatal scorpion sting, and the battle between Horus and Set. the ancient Greek myth of Python and the sun chariot of Plato's story of Atlantis, the Mayan Popol Vuh creation myth about the heart of heaven, the Nordic legend of Ragnarok about the death riders of Muspel, and the sun-swallowing Fenris wolf, the Urukha Indian conflagration legend, and many others. Physics is only as good as the theories it is based on. Whatever is currently accepted theory taught in schools. So I'll read that again. Physics is only as good as the theories it is based on. Whatever is currently accepted theory is taught in schools and is defended as religion. 25 years ago, US scientists who wanted to work on free energy were being blackballed from receiving National Science Foundation grants. Paul had difficulty finding favor in mainstream academia in the US and was even persecuted. But fortunately, he had developed many open-minded followers around the world. The scientific community as a whole has been slow in appreciating the importance of Paul's contributions, as his ideas depart, sometimes radically, from current norms in scientific thinking. The full impact of his theories were not embraced in his own lifetime. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer said, "All truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, is accepted as self-evident." Paul's theories are expected to reach a third stage in the near future. Paul lived in Athens, Greece, and Niskayana, New York, with his wife Mariana Christopher, and they enjoyed traveling whenever he was invited to lecture. He is survived by his wife Mariana, his sister Mary Margaret Laviolette, and his nephew Anthony John Nicolopoulos. Funeral was at 1 p.m. Wednesday, 21st of December 2022 at Zografo Cemetery in Athens. In lieu of flowers, donations to the Starburst Foundation at 1176 Edgewood Lane, Niskayana, New York, USA, or through the etheric.com website are preferred. Okay, this is about me. I'm the present author of the 6th edition, although Paul has written. I've just edited what Paul's done and made just minor corrections of typographical errors, things like that. I haven't altered the work. I've just corrected any errors that were there. This is about me, about author Brendan J. Darragh. I came to Paul's work first about 2009 to 2010, watching him give an interview on Project Camelot with Kerry Cassidy and Bill Ryan. Since then, I have been very interested in subquantum kinetics and wanted to do a PhD in the subject. However, I eventually realized it would not be possible in my situation, so I undertook a PhD in conventional physics, electromagnetism, and tomography at the University College London from 2013 to 2017, imaging metallic objects inside metallic boxes using alternating magnetic fields. So my academic background is a BSc Honours in Physics 2002, MSc in Particle Physics 2004, a PhD in Electromagnetism and Tomography 2017. I have co-founded a few research groups, including the Model G Vortical Motion Group via Facebook in February 2018, where we also meet up on Zoom every week for nearly 6 to 7 years now. Paul Laviolette came to nearly all of the meetings up to a few months before he passed away. I'm also CEO at the Starbuzz Foundation, a non-profit scientific research institute founded by Paul in 1984. I've always had an interest in physics and the mystical. So I think we'll just end this first part there, and then I'll get on to the second part. The second part will be the first part of the book, an overview of the methodology. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the second part.